breaking news coming out of Paris regarding Kylian Mbappe's future at PSG. What is that news, Jules?
Yes, just breaking out on this L'Equipe newspaper, revealing that Kylian Mbappe sent a letter to PSG today to make clear. I think he hinted it before with the club, but to make clear that he would not trigger the extension year that he has on his contract, which means that he will be out of contract next summer, so in the summer 2024, and from January the 1st, he will be able to sign for free for the club that he wants. I think the club was still hoping that he would extend his contract like he did obviously a year ago, but he made that very clear. There would be no extension, so he would become a free agent in June 2024. To which the club has replied, hang on a minute, this is not idea, we can't lose you for free, so if you don't want to extend, then we will have to sell you this summer, which is something that Kylian doesn't want. He wants to stay in Paris next season. So it looks like this is another of our special sagas of the summers. We've had many in the past with Mbappe or others, and it looks like we have another one for this year.
Why, Jules? Why?
Don't blame Jules.
I mean, from the beginning, that extension and the huge contract and him being at the project of everything, we've said it was never really clear at the beginning if it was a 3-year deal, a 2+1 year deal, who could trigger what option, when. And it became quite clear later that Kylian was the only one to be able to trigger that third year in the contract, that it was basically a 2-year deal with another year if he wanted to still be there. And I think the recent failures in Europe, for example, the fact that this season that just finished was not a good season at all, maybe he thought, I don't want this too much anymore. Okay, I will do my last year, the one that I have to do in my contract, but not more than that. After that, I'll be 25 years old. I can go to Real Madrid, to Man City, to Liverpool, to Juventus, wherever he wants to go for free. So there will be a lot of options for him. But I think at the club, there was still a feeling like, okay, we've given him a 2+1, but by then we will have done so much for him that he will feel good and he will want to extend. And by then we might have won the Champions League. So I want to stay a bit more. And actually the reality is the complete opposite. He doesn't really want to be there for too much longer anymore.
So having said that, that kind of plays into a club like Real Madrid's hands, doesn't it, Jules? Because if he's only got 1 year left, you're not going to pay over the odds for a player that you can get for free in the summer of next year.
You're right. I mean, it works two ways. One, PSG are very strict on the amount, which a bit like what we're seeing with Spurs and Harry Kane, for example, that you don't want to discount your best player. And even if it's just 1 year left on his contract, the value is still very, very high because it's Kylian Mbappe. So you still fix a very high price. I would want to think that they would not want anything less than 150, maybe 120 million. But that would be the lowest that you would think they would be ready to go, even if that means then he goes for free in 12 months' time. But if you're Kylian, you're saying, hang on a minute, you don't want to lose me for free, you want to sell me now, but you will have to accept the kind of offers that are going to come from Real Madrid, for example, who right now you would think would be the leading candidate, I guess. Maybe Bayern Munich, but again, back to your point, Dan, if you're Real Madrid, you think, hang on, I can get you for free in 12 months, 6 months to be sure that you're with us in a year. So what, we offer 60, maybe 70, which for Mbappe is an absolute bargain, maybe up to 80 with bonuses, which will still be a bargain for him, like an Erling Haaland bargain, really. So it will be fascinating to see what happens in the next few days, what PSG are briefing, what the Mbappe camp is briefing as well. But yeah, you're right. There will certainly be a difference between what PSG would want and are hoping for and what really the market will lead with. And the market is in charge here. And the market will decide a lot of things in the Mbappe saga.
Monsieur Laurent, I have one more question. Mbappe still doesn't play through the centre, no?
Sorry, say that again, Dan?
He doesn't want to play through the centre. He lies drifting in from the left, yeah? Which is leading me to the Vinicius Junior conundrum.
Yes. However, I think for Real Madrid, he can easily play in the centre or even have the freedom of moving right, left. Karim Benzema used to love drifting onto the left, and then even when he was the key player in this Real Madrid team. So I think Carlo would be delighted to have him. Florentino Perez is the dream, and the objective has always been Mbappe for Real Madrid as well. And great players like that, even if your favorite position is slightly different than the one you are starting in a game, I think when you play for a club like that, you just go and fit wherever you are needed. And after that, there's a lot of freedom, there's a lot of movement, there will be a lot of feeling between him, Vinicius, Rodrigo, whoever plays on the right-hand side, Brahim Diaz, I don't know. And I don't think that the position right now could be an obstacle big enough for Real Madrid to think, oh, let's not sign him now. I think if he is really on the market, he would want to go to Madrid, of course. He was close to going to Madrid a year ago. If it's just about positioning, I think they would be okay with it.
Jules saying that he's going to Real Madrid this summer, Luis. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, Dan, totally makes sense. And it looks, and the way that I see it, for another fantastic move from Florentino. I think that Florentino knows exactly what he was doing back then. When he tried to sign it, there was a problem. Suddenly, extension of contract for Mbappe. And now is the right moment where Mbappe says, no, I don't want to make my extension. I'm going to be free next year. So you are pushing to PSG to why not sell him for a lower price. And once again, Mbappe pushing to go away. Now Benzema is not there. Real Madrid in transition. He's got money to spend. We've seen what happened with Jude Bellingham. And I think it could be a fantastic option. Yeah, it's true that having Vinicius Jr., that he wasn't expecting that he performed like he's done in the past couple of years, is a tricky puzzle what you have there. But definitely when you have Mbappe in your line, you have Vinicius Jr. in your line, you can use them in one of the areas. Rodrigo could be the number 9. He's been playing also a couple of times when Benzema he hasn't been involved. So I think that having Mbappe in the lines of Real Madrid could make them a candidate to win every single trophy. But again, I think that has been once again a fantastic move from Florentino behind the lines.
You imagine him, feet up on the desk. He doesn't smoke a cigar, but he went, well. Look who's back.
Yeah. So it was us all along then, Kylian. We were your number 1. For Real Madrid, I would imagine that their first priority was Harry Kane. And then that wasn't going to work out. The fact that Kylian Mbappe just essentially falls on their lap in this sort of manner, and it's going to be with a discount as well, if you're Real Madrid, you go all in. Now, I have said all along, I would prefer, given the structure of this team, I would prefer that you address the center forward position with Harry Kane. But if he's not an option, then, and Kylian Mbappe is right there, available, you have no other choice but to go after him. And, mind you, Jules just mentioned the market. And let's just say that the market is Real Madrid. Let's just say that indeed they are the ones. Why would you go and chase and pay whatever amount of money PSG wants? No. You are in no rush to do this. You are playing with the mind, the heart, and soul of PSG and saying to them, oh, so what you want is for this guy to go for free? Oh, so what you want is a whole year of the fans turning on you and turning on the player and booing and this and that and the other and uncertainty and instability. That's what you want, a whole year of that? And the more you think about that when you're PSG, the lower that number becomes, and it comes lower and lower and lower to the point to where we're talking about what would be a rollback price for Kylian Mbappe. It's a no-brainer for Real Madrid.
I think easy sums for Real Madrid. And yes, I understand the concern with Vinicius Jr. on the left-hand side, but Kylian Mbappe is the most valuable asset in world football, bar none. That player comes available, you do everything you can to sign him, if indeed he wants to come to your club, and then you figure the rest out. Now, yes, there's an immediate need for a centre forward, given the sudden departure of Karim Benzema, but just as nobody maybe so anticipated that happening, nobody anticipated this. Not this summer, not this early in the summer from Kylian Mbappe. If you're Real Madrid, if you know he's interested and he's available, you do everything you can to sign him. But as Ali says, you're holding all the cards.
Jules, has really that much changed from when we were sat here last year, assuming that he was going to move on a free to Real Madrid? I understand what you're saying, obviously. Disappointment in the Champions League once again. But surely he kind of knew that was going to happen.
Yes, I think so. I think, as we explained, he wanted to give it another go, have another shot at maybe the Champions League for a couple of years. He thought that the second season with Messi and Neymar would be better than the first one, that Messi would be better because he would be more integrated and more settled, which was partly true. But let's not forget as well, before the World Cup, we broke the story on ESPN that he was not happy and that he wanted to leave in January. So this has been coming. He was not happy because he felt that when he signed that huge deal a year ago, and that they said to him, you're going to be at the heart of the project, we're going to do this and that, and you play with him, and we're going to recruit him, we're going to sign him. And in the end, none of that happened. He ended up with Carlos Soler. I mean, you know, Fabian Ruiz, no offense, Luis, I know that you're brothers, but this is not what was told and sold on, really. And we can agree or not, we know how the market works, and sometimes you might want Lewandowski, but you might not get him. This is the way football works. But still, he felt a bit let down. And because he was in such a strong position, because of this contract, already in November, he said to the club, I'm out in January. They said, don't be silly, you're staying. And now, 6 months later, he's saying, you know what, I'm out. I'm not going to extend. I'm out in a year. If you don't want me to go on a free, then sell me now. The thing as well, let's not forget, is that he will still decide where he wants to go. Let's say PSG have an amazing offer from Man City, for example. I know Man City will say yes, but I don't know. Let's say a club that he doesn't want to go to, and Real Madrid with half of that offer. Kylian will say, I don't want to go there. Remember when Monaco agreed all the deal in 2017 for him to go to Real Madrid without telling him, and then literally putting the contract under him and said, here we go, we've had an agreement with Real Madrid, you're going there. He said, no. I decide where I go. So you trying to force me to go to Real Madrid? I'm going to go to PSG then. Which was, again, and he will do the same here. If PSG are saying to him, well, we have an agreement with X, he said, no, I want to go to Y. So it's either Y or I'm staying. And this is going to be very difficult for Luis Campos, who has a very strong relationship with not just Kylian, but the whole Mbappe clan, the whole Mbappe family. It'll be very, very hard the next few weeks.
Percentages then, where's he going to be at the start next season, Jules?
You know what, knowing Nasser Al-Khelaifi and the Qataris, and this might be arrogance, confidence, I don't know, they will keep him and still hoping that between the start of the season or pre-season in July, for example, and the end of his contract, even not January, the end of the contract, that they would have enough time to convince him, like they did a year ago, to stay and not to go to Real Madrid on a free. However, this time, it would not work. He would leave on a free. But my gut feeling, and again, this broke just before we started the show, so I haven't had time to do anything on it. But my gut feelings is that they would gamble that and hope that in the next 12 months they can convince him to stay a year, maybe 2 maximum. But I don't feel that this time he will say yes.
So 100% he'll be there this season.
I think they will keep him in the hope of convincing him to extend and not live on a free in the summer 2024.
But to the point you just made, will he not just throw his toys out the pram and say, look, I don't want to play here anymore. Get some money for me, I'm out of here.
But then just to finish on that before the boys give their opinion, when he got the player of the season, he said, I will be there next season. But he said, I've got another year. So I have to be here because I've got another year on my contract. So I think he knows this is a big possibility that PSG is playing it tough and said, oh, you don't want to extend? Well, let's see, because we're going to throw this at you and again, and we're going to do the same shenanigans that they did a year ago for him to extend and gamble on that. I think he's ready for it. So he's ready to stay another year. And then if he's a free agent, then it's even better for him, to be fair, because again, he will have more clubs. He will have the last year of the Guardiola era at City if he wants to. He will have maybe a Liverpool team much better with club. He can go to Real Madrid. He might have Bayern Munich. He might have an Italian club. I don't know, whatever. But as a free agent, it's a completely different ball game for him.
I do have a question.
Jules?
Well, in general.
Okay.
If he wasn't ready to move right now, then why do you need to send this letter right now?
And why a letter? Why not an email or a text
Well,
or a WhatsApp?
Yes, a memo.
Or a TikTok.
Whatever the case may be, but I'm just saying, if you were not trying to force your way out, why do you feel the need to send this letter right now? Because essentially what you're saying is this is the beginning of the transfer window. I am sending this letter to let you know I will not be here past next year. And so therefore, if you want to get something from me, the moment is now to do so. So he may be ready in terms of PSG knowing full well that he has another year in the contract, but he's also saying, if you want something from me, here's the letter. I'm not coming back. I think he's trying to push a move out right now.
Julian, your floor.
I think he wants to be upfront and transparent with them, which is what the Mbappe entourage has always said. And I think it's like, just so you know, you're preparing and you're putting pieces in place everywhere for the transfer window, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, whoever you want, blah, blah. But I'm just letting you know. And I think, again, I think he has told them before already, without even going back all the way to November. But I think he hinted it to them already. Just so you know, and nice on black and white, signed by the lawyer and by everybody, this is here, I won't extend. So you know, now do what you want. You want to sell me and you want to put me on the market. You want to keep me and I'm a free agent in a year. But at least I really believe, Ali, that this is just about transparency and being upfront with them. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to change my mind now. So now the ball is in your camp, in your court. Do what you want with it. But this is where I stand right now and that's not going to change.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.